Hello everyone, Nas here from Moonguard, and today I'm going to show you one way to make gold in World of Warcraft. Of course there are several, this just happens to be one of my favorites. I'll be talking about this, how it relates to an affliction warlock, but this may be adaptable to other classes and specs, depending on how well you know your class and spec. Alright, so where are we? We are in Icecrown, in the Valley of Fallen Heroes, right here. Alright, and you want to put your camera back all the way so you can get a wide angle view of everything. What you see happening here is you'll see yellow mobs, fallen heroes, running along this ridgeline and out through here on their way to be converted heroes. And we'll see this guy going towards the banner bearer back here, and as they get right about here they despawn. That's an important thing to bear in mind, because you want to give yourself enough room to target behind yourself. That way they're not despawning while you're trying to hit them if you happen to get overrun. Basically these guys never stop coming, and depending on how many other people are farming this spot, if you do this right, you can pull them all directly to you, remain alive, and loot them without having to run anywhere. You want to have your Voidwalker out for this, and there's a couple of talent specs that come in very handy in this situation. Number one being Siphon Life, because that's going to cause your corruption ticks to heal you. And also over in the let's see, the demonology tree, Fell Synergy will heal your Voidwalker for 15% of the damage you do. So as your Milton faces, Voidy stays nice and healthy. That also keeps you from having to constantly be healing your pet. And you can see as I'm talking here, the mobs running by, like I said, they're yellow, so if you want to let them run by, you can. They won't attack you. If you get back here into conversion land, then these guys are red, and these will come after you. They're not difficult to mow down, but they're not really for our purposes here. Alright, so to get started, I want to make sure you have your fell armor on, and proper control of your Voidwalker in this situation is critical, okay? Because if you have him on defensive like I normally do, and you target a mob, he's going to run out here to get the mob you just cast on, and your Voidwalker will be tanking the mob somewhere over here. And I mean, that's fine, but what you'll end up doing in that situation is running around all over the place looting, and that will cost you time and mobs. If you do this right, you can pull absolutely every one of them and stay alive just fine. So you're spending time toggling between your Voidwalker on passive and defensive. I usually have him on passive until the mob is right in front of me and aggroed on me. Then I'll kick him to defensive because I know he's not going to go running off. The mob is right here. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start off on passive and mark a mob. 2 spells I cast on each one. Instant cast, Corruption and Curse of Agony. Now the mob's in place. I can put the Voidwalker on defensive. Spell, spell, spell. Let's bring him back a little bit. Spell, 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 spell. You see, rinse and repeat. So we'll keep just dropping Corruption and Curse of Agony on these guys. Life tap as we need to. Make sure to remember to put the Voidwalker on defensive as you can. Occasionally a haunt helps if you can make sure that the mob is directly in front of you. And if you end up running into a health situation here, Voidwalker's bubble comes in very handy. Okay, so when you have the Voidwalker tank these things close like this, all you have to do is loot. And you can do that in between mobs. You can do that when you have a break. But I mean, I'll sit here and loot just while they're hacking on me. This is where the Siphon Life talent really comes in handy, because Corruption being the first spell that I cast on these guys, that's going to be healing me as it damages them. So that does it's very good at keeping you alive. Okay, so we probably, we mowed down several mobs there, just kind of looting them as we go. Okay, now that mob died, I'm putting the Voidwalker back on passive so I can place this next mob. Now he's in place, we'll go ahead and put him back on defensive, and we can start pulling mobs again. It's important that if you think a mob that you've got in front of you is about to die, to put the Voidwalker on passive before you pull another one, because that'll keep him from, again, running off out into God knows where and making you run everywhere to loot. Okay, this mob's going to die soon, so passive, cast on this one, get him in place, and defensive. Got a couple more coming. Plenty of life left in the mob we're fighting right now, so we'll just cast on these guys without worrying about putting the Voidwalker in passive, because he's still going to be, tanking right in front of us in good loot range. I managed to use this method to go from like 10 gold to the 5,000 gold I needed for epic flying in the course of 3 days, spending just a few hours a day doing this. I am a tailor and an enchanter, so it helps that I can DE these greens, and it helps that I have cloth scavenging. But even without those, this could be a very lucrative way to just stand here and mow down mobs. Again, keeping them in front of you is key, because you see the rate they're coming at. I would not be able to pull all these if I had to run all over the place to loot this stuff. Of course, being as you're looting mid-combat, sometimes you're going to screw up and start swinging your staff at things like an idiot, but no big deal. The next time you loot, that'll pull you out of staff combat. So put him back on passive, bring another one in, and I guess you can kind of see, how this works. A couple of things that come in really handy here. Like I said before, is your Voidwalker's bubble, because sometimes these things will come in waves of 8 or so, and if you're getting beat up too bad, it's good to be able to get that 7,000 per second damage protection there. So yeah, just as they come in, the 2 spells. And the fact that the spells are instant cast is really important here, because they come at a rate at which would be, make it not easy for you to cast timed spells. I do slip a haunt in there every now and then just to grab a little extra health, but again, that's only when I have time. Hopefully we get a big wave of these coming pretty soon, so I can show you another strategies, because sometimes you'll have, like I said, up to 8 coming at once. So if that is the case, then you want to probably use your Seed of Corruption, which will do damage to any mob within a certain range. Okay, so let's just set one of those up here. What I would do is I would say cast Curse of Agony by itself on each individual mob, because Seed of Corruption does not stack with Corruption. Now we're bubbled, and we're going to switch between the mobs and cast a Seed of Corruption on each one. That's going to do AoE damage. Uh-oh. Shit. Okay. Well, generally you'll stay alive through that. I started that Seed of Corruption pull without enough health, so that's what can happen. But as long as you decide you're going to do that huge pull when you've got plenty of health, you can pull down 8 mobs at once, bubble, Seed of Corruption all of them, and be just fine.